question I get asked all the time, so I'm going to ask it of you because we're sort of contemporaries.
Mm-hmm.
How much longer, Gary, are you going to be doing this?
I don't know, man. It just feels good still, and the crowds keep showing up and liking it, and I like to keep the brand going. And Ryan, Alan, and Stevie, and all those guys who aren't here anymore, keep their dream alive, you know. And it was our dream back in the early days to write songs and make it big in a band and be heard. So
Oh, yeah. The other side of everything else. Little somber moment at Gary Rossington, the last of the street survivors. He's the last original member. He's original guitarist for Leonard Skinner. So he's he's the last of the rebels. And now the original band's back together, up there having a little jam session, a little of their own reunion, so to speak. I imagine the rest of the band has been playing. You know, they got back together in 1991. It's originally supposed to be called Leonard Skinner in 1991, and it's a tribute. But they did some albums, just some good albums. And Gary has been a part of all that, and but yeah, I'm not sure. I think they might even been touring without him right now. But anyway, we've lost another great. It seems like every week there's an announcement of somebody passing away. But they are up there in age. They did live life hard, so I mean it catches up with you. But you know, Godspeed, God rest his weary soul. Very underrated. I mean, don't get enough credit. The 3 Guitar Attack by Leonard Skinner just does not get the credit it deserves. I mean, it gets mentioned from time to time, but when you're talking about the greats, you know, you're talking about Eddie Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, as you should be. You know, Ritchie Blackmore, David Gilmour, Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, all of them. Jeff Beck just passed away. But sorry about that. That was a potential spam, so it does not get answered. But anyway, there we go. A little somber moment to start things up. We'll pick it up. We'll pick it up as we go because we're here to celebrate the life. Because that 3 Guitar Attack by Leonard Skinner could. I mean, I know Freebird gets overplayed, if you will, you know, or if whatever you want to think, but I don't know. You go back and listen to it now. Now is the time to listen to it, really. You listen to the guitar solo for Freebird, and because people usually they go to Stairway to Heaven, and Freebird is the greatest guitar solos in Hotel California, and rightfully so. They're all great, but I would probably lean towards Freebird. And Freebird has that slow build to it, and then they just kick in and they just rip it up. One time I was in New Orleans and walked up on this band playing, and they were combining songs together, and they're like, we don't have enough time to do all the greats, so we're combining it, and then they started out with Stairway to Heaven, kicked in the Freebird, and it was really cool the way they did that. But anyway, let's go ahead and celebrate Gary's life, though, because, of course, you know, like I said, Leonard Skinner, undeniable. You got you know, all the greats. You got the Sweet Home Alabama and Saturday Night Special and What's Her Name and all that. But I wanted to kick in with a little whiskey. Take a shot of whiskey. Because I started thinking, you know, the big influence in around at least my little city, my little town, Midwest, basically. Probably one of the greatest, got to be Leonard Skinner. I mean, just has to be. A little swamp music in there. And I didn't want to forget, he also had a band called Rossington Collington's band. Some great stuff came out of this band here. In fact, I'm going to explore some more Rossington Collingtons here in a little bit, because you forget about them. You go, so many great Skinner songs, and then you hear he dies, and you forget about the Rossington Collington band. But, man, let's not forget them. Anyway, the last rebel, last of the street survivors, last original member of Leonard Skinner has passed on. Godspeed, God rest his soul. God bless him for all of the great music that we got. You notice in the background, I picked out a few cassettes I was going through back there, and so I don't know what all you can see. You've got a little Winger, a little ZZ Top, some Kiss, some Sammy Hagar, some Ozzy, some Muddy Waters, some Dio, Van Halen, Bad English, Dr. Hook, Deep Purple, even threw Richard Pryor in there. Bad Company, Wasp, Steelheart, Jay Giles, Beggars and Thieves. Now that's a band that we need to get into sometime. I got Danger, and I got a little thing about Danger I want to do later on. Badlands, they deserve it. I've mentioned Crocus, Ted Nugent, Cinderella, Elvis, some Hank Jr., Sabbath, Led Zeppelin. And there's many more that I could be putting in there, but I'll put them up in the background a little bit. You can see Chickenfoot back here in the background. See the Michael Schenker and stuff. Anyway, I'm going to get into a little news now. Big news is me, because I love Chicago, but Chicago is not a place that I've been wanting to visit for the last few years, because a big part of it was their mayor was just so soft on crime. She just ignored things. She was she wasn't pushing. There's so many murders there. I didn't feel safe. I heard stories about how you'd be 2 blocks from your hotel to the event you want to get to, and they recommend you do not walk. And that's just sad. But the good news is, hopefully the good news is Mayor Lightfoot, or should I say former Mayor Lightfoot. And if you look on there, she got 16% of the votes, so a lot of people was feeling that way. A lot of people was wanting her out. So I don't know much about who got it, but hopefully they'll step up and do a better job. But let's not forget Mayor Lightfoot, former Mayor Lightfoot. We want to wish her well in her future endeavors, and we got footage of what she's doing now. I believe this is the unemployment office. And there she is.
Sorry, didn't see you sitting there.
Well, you got to start over.
I don't know what her problem is. Normally chicks.
Anyway, that's what Lightfoot's up to now. So hopefully she lands on her feet and she does okay. We're wishing her well. Anyway, with the news of Leonard Skinner, because I was going back and forth. I'm sorry if the show's a little late this week, but you know what they say, better late than pregnant. And so I was thinking, what can I do, Well, first of all, let me I did discover a new TV show. It's on Amazon Prime. And it's about a 70s band where they get involved with each other, and then there's a big breakup and all that stuff. And it kind of reminds me of the Fleetwood Mac story, really. But it's all fictional, and it's called Daisy and the Six. And I recommend it.
Can I ask you a question?
I believe 3 episodes has been released.
What do I think the song is about? What the song
Yeah, what
that
is
I
the
wrote?
song
What do I
about?
think the song that I wrote is about?
It's about starting a new life.
I believe there's 3 more episodes this
It's about
Friday.
dreaming of something different.
It's got a couple of different stories where they intertwine and
What's up?
they form a band that
I wanted to tell you.
goes
Daisy,
huge.
look, we don't need to argue.
I was just gonna say that I love the sound of your voice.
And it's got all original music. So that's kind of cool.
Your first single.
It's also got other music
Hits
too
number 1. How do you
that
top
you'll
that?
recognize. But anyway, that's my recommendation for a TV show this week. And it's music related, so that's pretty cool. Like I said, I think 3 episodes have been released. That's what I've watched, and I'm really into it. Looking forward to the next 3 episodes come out, and I think every Friday there's going to be a couple of more episodes coming out. And that seems to be popular. You may have already heard about it, but that's my recommendation. I hear it the other side of everything else. And so like I said, we're getting a little later start than what I was really planning on. But I went back and forth with some things to do for the show, and then the news of Gary Rossington's passing came, and I started thinking, man, Leonard Skinner, you know, in the Midwest here at least, and I'm sure all over. But what an influence, you know, and I started thinking, you know, who was the big influences for me at that early age? You know, when Skinner came out, I mean, I wasn't even 10 years old, but I had an older brother. And I remember he had the One More for the Road album, you know, and Street Survivors, and, you know, I think then I had my brother-in-law, God rest his soul, Bub Hurt. Some of you might have known him as Hockey if you know me and you're listening, but he had all these old albums, and you know, I got a lot of them after he did pass, and you know, his Little Feat. There was Dr. Hook as a big one for me, and Styx. You know, Styx has a big influence around here. It seemed like REO Speedwagon, and then you had Triumph and April Wine and all them, but you know, I had Foreigner. You know, that was a big one. Journey, and but for me, it's like okay, I've done did Leonard Skinner. That's probably the top influence around here. You know, maybe AC/DC might be in there. But around that time, you know, when I was you know, probably younger than 10 or getting around 10, who was really affecting me? Who was jumping out at me? And well, it's one of the most iconic guitar riffs ever. The Motor City Madman. Uncle Ted. Terrible Ted Nugent. Oh, yeah. I mean, and you had this. You had Cat Scratch Fever, Free For All, and all that. And one of my favorites. It's just what the doctor ordered. You got to meet Derek St. Holmes there, and man, he was such a nice guy. Such a great show to watch too. Back there on drums, that's Wild Mick Brown from Docking. One of my big questions on Ted Nugent, though, is, I mean, he's one of them that's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We did that a couple episodes back about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, bands that should be in there and stuff. And we know why he's not. It's because people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's run by Rolling Stone magazine, so they don't like his politics. So it's like, forget the music. Music ain't important. It's his politics. We don't like the way he talks. We used to love the way he talks, because he was a fast talker. He just talked so fast. And I don't know why I'm sounding like Dusty Rhodes right now, because we're talking about not the dream, but the mean machine, Ted Nugent. But anyway, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame should go by your music merit. And you'd argue about who's, he was big in the 70s. He was a big influence. I mean, and before that, he had the Amboy Dukes. He was doing stuff. So he's been around since the 60s. And then he went solo, and then that, when he went Damn Yankees, they had two great big albums and did great. And then Ted Nugent. Bottom line is, he's a Hall of Famer. Whether you want to put him in there or not, he will always be a Hall of Famer. And speaking of Hall of Famers, it's also arguably about the biggest band in the Midwest here where I'm from. Would be, the biggest influence would probably be, you wanted the best, you got the best. Kiss. For me personally, Kiss was probably been the big influence. You could not ignore them. As much as people tried to, you just couldn't. Oh yeah, I mean they were arguably the biggest band in the world in the late 70s there. Now in our little scene around here, I'd say probably Leonard Skinner, Kiss, and then after that it's up in the air. It could be AC/DC, it could be Ted Nugent, it could be Foreigner, Journey, REO Speedwagon, Pink Floyd. I'd almost put Pink Floyd up there, but I went with these three. That's the ones I went with, and so we're going to go ahead and jump into our last news story as we're ending, because the big debate now is Biden, and he's pushing forgiving the student debt, and I'm sorry. I mean, how did you justify that with everybody else that's paid their debt? You go in knowing what it is, and I'm not all about college. I mean, it's risky. I want a lot of money. The return to me, they really need to be pushing. They need to be pushing the narrative of talking to the colleges and getting the price down so people can go and not have crushing debt, because somebody's going to pay that debt, and it shouldn't be the working man, the guy that couldn't go to college, or the guy that paid his college off. But anyway, crack staff here at the other side of everything else. Well, we got to look inside of the meetings with, I believe it's the Supreme Court. They're having meetings right now, and they're listening to all sides, and let's jump in there and let's see what we got.
Point of parliamentary procedure.
Don't screw around. They're serious this time.
Take it easy. I'm in pre-law, man.
Thought you pre-med.
What's the difference? Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be brief.
I think he's up to.
The issue here is not whether we broke a few rules or took a few liberties with our female party guests. We did. But you can't hold a whole fraternity
I see where this is
responsible
going.
for the behavior of a few sick, perverted individuals.
He's not
Or if
giving
you
a good
do,
case for relieving
then
the student
shouldn't we
debt, is
blame
he?
the whole fraternity system? And if the whole fraternity system is guilty, then isn't this an indictment of our educational institutions in general?
Oh, crowd getting
I
fired
put it
up.
to you, Greg. Isn't this an indictment of our entire American society? Well, you can do what you want to us, but we're not going to sit here and listen to you bad-mouth the United States of America. Gentlemen!
Yeah, I feel like I'm walking with him too. It's about time somebody stood up for America.
Walking out on this one, mister. You're finished. No more Delta.
Seems angry, don't he? But anyway, so there's a lot going on in the world. A lot happening. A lot going on everywhere. I hope you're doing okay. Like I always say, just be good to somebody. Be good to everybody if you can. I know the world's full of, well, as the Scottish would say, arseholes. And, I mean, it's something you just got to do. But at the same time, don't let somebody walk all over you. You saw them. You stand up. You give a speech, whether it has anything to do with what we're talking about or not. You give a speech, because if you can give an inspiring speech, people will listen, and they'll forget about the whole other thing, and they'll probably get up and walk out with you. I'm just saying, it happened with Jerry Maguire. It can happen with you. So, until next time, I'll see you on the other side.